Welcome to a live recording of a podcast Matt Halloran and I are going to produce on how to increase referrals. We haven't started recording the podcast yet. Wanted to give Matt an opportunity to talk about something big he has coming up next week with Diana Cabrices. Matt, what's going on?
Yeah, so I don't know. And I'm sure anybody who's connected with either of us know that, anything you can do with Diana is just like the greatest thing in the whole wide world, right? And so we were talking at Future Proof and had really talked about the fact that, what ProudMouth does and what Wealth Tender does specifically just is so symbiotic. And so we're going to really dive in on how to use your content marketing strategy with something like the testimonial strategy that you can use through Wealth Tender can really make this beautifully harmonious referral generating juggernaut, to be honest, is how we're positioning that. And so all you have to do is you can go to my LinkedIn profile or Diana's LinkedIn profile, and you can go ahead and sign up for that webinar.
Excellent. And we'll put links in the show notes and, of course, under social media. If you are watching this live and you want to ask Matt a question, simply go into the comment section, type it, and we'll see if we can't work it into the broadcast. Matt, I used to do at some points during the pandemic, I would do 3 live streams a day. I haven't done one in 2 years, brother. We're getting back after it, though, aren't we?
We are, dude. I'm so happy you're back on the horse and we're riding the wagon together because we've been a good team in the past. So I'm pretty excited about this.
In fact, we've been a great team in the past. And let me tell you and show our audience what a great team we have been. Check out this image from a show that we did 4 years ago. Look at the Matt Halloran brand 4 years ago.
Dude, you know what? I was still in a massive period of flux at that point in my career. Like, we were still trying to stay all, buttoned up and super professional. So it's funny, that was 4 years ago. COVID ruined all of that, dude. I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to grow my beard out to where I want it to be. And, I've really leaned into the whole Santa Claus thing a lot more. And so, yeah, wow, that's almost traumatic, dude. The image on the screen, because you look exactly the freaking same, by the way. So
no, that's not true, brother. I am aging like milk in a sauna. But we can go back even further, Matt. We've been producing content together for almost 8 years. Take a look at this.
Okay, now this is hysterical because that picture was from when I did Practice Makeover with Matt Ackerman when he was still at Investment News. And that was the promo shot that they used when we were filming the reality show. So yeah, dude, just so you know, I still have that suit, man, but I haven't put that on, and I don't even know the last time I put that suit on.
Yeah. And listen, that was so long ago. We would record podcasts over the telephone and Skype. Yep. That's how far technology has come.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get started and record podcast episode number 252 with Matt Halloran. How do you generate meaningful referrals as a financial advisor? It is one of the biggest challenges advisors face. Yet, if that nut can be cracked and systematized, advisors can see their practice flourish. On this episode, ProudMouth co-founder Matt Halloran is going to walk you through some of the strategies that he uses to help advisors crack that nut.
This is the Resilient Advisor Show with Jay Coulter.
Welcome back to the Resilient Advisor Show, where advisors learn how to streamline their investments, enhance their financial planning, and simplify their business. My guest today is Matt Halloran. Matt has been my go-to expert for marketing ideas and, in particular, podcasting for almost a decade. You're really going to appreciate the content that Matt brings for this episode because we're going to talk about how advisors can increase referrals. Matt, welcome back to the show.
Dude, I'm so happy to be back. I forgot how much fun your opening is there. I just think that's the dude walking up the stairs and stuff. I just love that, man. I absolutely think it's fantastic.
Well, we're going through a little bit of a rebrand, so we might have to work through some of that as well. But let's get started. Tell me, when you're working with an advisor and they come to you and they say, Matt, I really need to increase and help my referral game. What do you recommend they start with?
Well, so first off, it's changed a lot, right? And you have to be able to make this philosophical shift, because if you can't make this step, then I just want everybody to know the rest of what I'm going to talk about is actually insurmountable for you. And here's what the step is referrals have fundamentally changed. When your client says, hey, you should call Jay, they don't pick up the phone and call Jay. They Google the living heck out of you. They're going to check to see if you're on their social media platform that they prefer, posting timely content that resonates with who they are, both personally, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, and all of that sort of stuff. And so the referral game has fundamentally changed. You have to have like consistent, personalized content that's out there that doesn't just show how smart you are, but also shows who you are. And Jay, one of my favoriteest things that happened with a social media post that I just did recently, because we work off referrals too, right? I mean, we're B2B, but I'm still looking for referrals from our existing clients. And I posted something about my son and I taking a German longsword sword fighting class. And I shot it. My son shot the video, and it was me getting my butt kicked by the instructor. And I got this outpouring, like 3,500 impressions and like 70 something comments. And it was just so much because people want to know more about you. One of the things that has fundamentally changed in the world of branding and marketing is you have to have your own brand that complements who you are and what you do in your financial services practice. We call it the 4-to-1 rule, and this is based in cognitive behavioral psychology. For every 4 business posts you do, you have to do 1 personal post. In cognitive behavioral psychology, it's you have to make 4 praise statements before 1 corrective statement. But we know that 4-to-1 rule is a very, very powerful technique. And if you do that, if you start sharing more about who you are as a human, not just an advisor, you're going to be increasing your referrals exponentially.
So if an advisor hasn't really paid attention to how they're systematizing this process, do you have a framework or methodology that you use for somebody that's just starting their journey down that path of systems?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. You got to walk before you run, right? That's the most important thing that you can ever do. If you're not really posting, you just need to go ahead and put a time, block it out as is immovable. I highly recommend you do this on a Monday or a Friday. You spend 15 minutes, you craft a post, or even better, this is the best content in the world. You grab your phone and you say, I just got out of a client meeting, and this is the question that they asked. You're not going to be giving investment advice. You're going to say, this is the question they asked. Do you have similar questions? Bam. You can send it through compliance. Bob's your uncle. You post it on social. And I want you to do that once a week. And I want you to do that once a week for a month. You're going to start building this as like an atomic habit. My business partner, Kirk Lowe, loves talking about atomic habits because it's such a huge part of what we build in our podcasting system. We're creating habits for our clients. So you can create that for yourself. It is an immovable appointment, needs to be before your meeting with clients or close to lunch. So those are the 2 things that I really want you to do. Because lunchtime, maybe you had a couple of client meetings, you've got some really good opportunities for some content, and you normally, hopefully, are at taking advantage of managing your calendar well, so you can build that time in. That's one of the best ways you should walk before you run, man.
Yeah. Yep. I like the idea of blocking it off on Friday, definitely before client meetings. Tell me what technology would you recommend an advisor use in the beginning? I'm not talking about these sophisticated systems that we all get marketed with. Should they use to help make this easier for them?
Yeah, any new phone, man, right? I mean, honestly, now there'll be some people who argue that you should use the cameras on the back, not the camera on the front, whatever. I don't really care. This is basically 1080p. Even if it's 720, that's fine. It's still going to look good. The other thing is I don't want any editing. So literally this piece of equipment that all of you have, I don't care if you have an iPhone or if you have a Samsung or a Google or I don't know what the other Nokia, I don't know what they have yet, but any of those that actually have a legitimate camera system, that's all you need to do. And you also want to make sure that you're in a quiet place though, right? So you don't want to be walking out in the middle of a coffee shop shooting a video, because that actually is annoying to your audience because they can't really hear your voice. But this is it. You don't need anything more than this. Period. End of story.
What about a microphone?
Well,
Don't worry
okay,
about
so that's level 2, right?
Okay.
Level 2 is, and on Amazon right now, or wherever you B&H, we usually buy our stuff from B&H, and I actually don't have it in front of me right now, but there are these little lav mics that plug into the bottom of your phone. They're $29. All right. And if you want to upgrade your audio for that, that's a perfect thing to do if you're using a handheld device. Now, if you're going to sit down in front of your computer like Jay and I are right now, we recommend the Samson 2QU or Q2U microphone. It's like $59 anywhere you get it. It's a directional condenser microphone. It's a USB plug and play. It's going to make you sound like a champ. Throw away your Yeti, burn it. Don't ever use the microphone because you have to have a soundproof room. It's a hot microphone. I want you to use something that's very clear, very simple. And, I do this a lot, Jay, but this is the joys of a directional condenser microphone, right? You can hardly hear me at all, which also means that you guys can't hear. There's a big thunderstorm happening in my neighborhood right now. My dogs have been running around upstairs right above me, but you can't hear it because it's not within the pattern of the microphone.
Okay. I tell you, one thing I learned over the years from you and Katie Braden, our mutual friend, is, this is all you need. You don't need these fancy, expensive microphones. But for most folks, there is some imposter syndrome about picking up the phone and saying, and delivering some type of video content, putting it out to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Frankly, I've struggled with it, which just surprises most people since I've been spamming advisors with my content for a decade. How can an advisor that's having some reservations around doing that get over the hump mentally? What do they need to do?
See a therapist. So that's probably the first thing that you need to do because it really is a confidence issue. It's also a perfection issue, and perfection is the enemy of done. I believe I live my life by that. The other thing is it's supposed to be raw. And you have to just convince yourself that that's okay. So many people in financial services feel like they need to be so polished, like the ridiculous pictures that you shared of me, at the beginning of this, where I tried to be, one, somebody I wasn't, but two, try to fit this mold. And what we're finding right now is the more the more permission, the more Jay that I can get from Jay, the more I'm going to love Jay and I'm going to want to follow him. And listen, this is such a vital piece that I wish somebody would have told me a long time ago. Your clients love you. Your clients trust you. That's who they have a relationship with, right? Yes. Are you a brilliant financial advisor with a CFP and CHFC and CLU and AEP? You got them all. CFA, you got all the designations. They don't care about any of that. They want to know who you are and feel that strong connection with you. The rest of the stuff is just gravy on top of the mashed potatoes, which is Jay Coulter.
Yeah, I tell you from my experience, the folks that I like to follow, and my preferred platforms are LinkedIn and X. And I love sports reporters on X, particularly if they're covering the Tennessee Volunteers or the Atlanta Braves. But the ones that I really resonate with are the authentic ones. There's no script. They look awful in half their videos. Awful is a strong word. They don't look polished in half their videos, and you build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And, one thing that I started doing, Matt, 18 months ago, we haven't even produced a show since then, is produce a weekly email called the Saturday Note. It's on LinkedIn, and it takes me an hour to write. It takes somebody 60 seconds to 2 minutes to read. Half of them, to your point, are very authentic stories about something either I've struggled with or an advisor has struggled with. And man, we were at Future Proof together a couple weeks ago. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, Jay, I mean, this is the best marketing I've ever done, and it is the most unpolished thing that I could put into the marketplace. So being authentic really does go a long way. Yeah. If you're an advisor listening to this and you're saying, okay, I buy what Matt's saying, I do need to become a little bit more authentic. I'm going to block off Friday to try and record some stuff, and then I'm going to put it out there. Is there anything else they need to think about in terms of delivering this in a consistent, systematized way that can help them with their referrals?
Yeah, so you need to share it. And so this is where everything becomes fantastic. So you start shooting those videos, you get 3 or 4 in the can, and you've been sharing them for 3 or 4 weeks. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do, like what Jay's talking about with the Saturday Note, is you're going to embed those quick videos into your newsletter. You're going to be sending them to your mailing list. You're going to be sending them to your centers of influence. And underneath the video, what you're going to say is, Send this video to somebody who you think could use this information. It's a very different referral ask as of now than it has been before, because here's the deal. What we're finding is people are much more comfortable sharing somebody else's post than they're going to say, hey, there's this guy, Jay, he's your ideal client. He's got $250,000 investable assets. He's a DIYer and he's about to retire. I mean, you don't know. Nobody has those conversations anymore. And sitting down with a client at the end of the meeting and saying, who are your 5 closest work associates is just yucky, right? And nobody wants to be in that situation anymore. Make it easy, convenient, and portable for them to share your Eunice, your thought leadership, your content. And that's where you're really going to get referrals, because you can actually track that stuff. Any good CRM that you have, and I know, Jay, you've talked a lot about, advisor technology. Any good CRM, you'll see how many people are clicking it. You'll see how many people are sharing that newsletter, right? Those are the sorts of things that really help with your referrals. And here's where it really gets great. You're in a client meeting and the client says, oh, you know what, Jay, I'm really struggling with trying to figure out these Social Security elections, right? It's so complicated, and I have a whole bunch of friends and we're really freaking out about it. Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this, but I shot a 3-minute video on the top 5 things that you needed to know. Oh my God, Jay, I didn't know you did that. Yeah, I did. Here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll text it to you right now. Bam, bam, bam. Bob's your uncle. Not texting if you can't do that. You know what I mean? Send it to the person, email it. And then you say, hey, look, you just said there's a bunch of your friends. That's not a sales video. It's just a quick explainer video. Would you mind sharing it? Oh my God, I'm going to share it with them right now. This is the modern referral system that we all need to really lean into. It's fun and it's easy. And it's more important to make it easy for your clients than it is for you. And if you have a good CRM, you can track all that stuff on the back end.
Yeah. So listen, I want to talk about your book. But first, I want to share with the audience something, and this is important to me. When I started podcasting 10 years ago, I was new. There weren't a whole lot of folks out doing it. Today, we're very fortunate. Our show gets in front of tens of thousands of advisors. And I would not have this opportunity if it wasn't for Matt Halloran. I went from this hacky podcaster to somebody that was able to deliver at a high level because of my relationship and the insights I received from Matt and his partner, Kirk. Matt is kind enough to offer free strategy sessions to talk about your marketing. And so there's a QR code here on the screen. If you're listening to this podcast via audio, there'll be a link in the show notes. But if you're concerned about your marketing, you want to know how to level up your game, I can tell you Resilient Advisor would not reach the audience that it reaches today if it wasn't for Matt Halloran. Matt, what would an advisor experience going to one of your strategy sessions?
Yeah, dude, I just did one of these yesterday at the end of the day. So I was on a webinar just like this, a broadcast, and I had put this QR code up and he went ahead and scanned it. So it is there. I am going to research you ahead of time. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 15 minutes before the 20-minute allocation of time, which is what this is. And I'm going to look at all your stuff. So I also kind of want you to be prepared for that, because I'm going to snoop you. I'm going to Google you. I'm going to look at your website. I'm going to look at your social media profiles, and I'm going to just take a couple of notes. And then the opening of the free strategy session is, what are you doing in marketing right now that you feel is working for you? And Jay, you know this better than anybody. Most people will say, nothing, right? And I'll say, well, yes, I can see that already. Your website is terrible. You have no real call to action. You have no free downloads. You have no, schedule a free call. And then I really deconstruct their social media. We've had people who've done free strategy sessions about podcasts. And so I will listen to a couple of your shows. Now, I don't listen to it in the entirety because I'm not going to do that, because I already know 90% of what you guys are doing wrong with your shows. And so this is a free strategy. This is not a sales call. I want to be very, very clear about that. Kirk and I made a very strategic decision, well, actually a really long time ago, that we want to really truly lead with as much value as we can. If you do decide that you want to, work with us in any of our products and services, we're more than happy to do that. But this is a true strategy session, and I would love for you guys to take a picture of this. Just scan it with your phone. It connects you directly with my calendar. Now, I am busy, so it might be a couple weeks out, but just go ahead and get something scheduled as soon as you can. And let's really dive into what can work for you. And by the way, Mariah, thanks for the comment. That referral video idea is a really powerful one, and I appreciate you chiming in there.
Matt, I'm out of practice. I did not see that in the comments section. So tell us a little bit about this post from Mariah.
Yeah. So, I really think that a lot of people just overthink what they need to do to be successful when it comes to content marketing. There is definitely levels of polish. I'm going to use a podcast that I don't think, well, some people won't like, but it's a great example, right? It's Call Her Daddy, which is the #1 podcast in the world right now. And it's literally one woman sitting in a chair and her guest is sitting across from her. When she started that show, it wasn't great, man. It wasn't. But she's an unbelievable interviewer, incredibly personal, very real. And now she's making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of it in interviewing the most famous people in the world, right? You have to just agree that you got to start somewhere, man. Experiment with angles, right? You don't want to do this with your phone because you're going to look like a doofus, and you also don't want this. You don't want to pulling it up your nose. There's a couple of easy techniques that you can have. Just look at yourself. Look at the camera. Don't look at yourself. And just start shooting stuff, right? Here's the deal. No matter what you do and no matter the quality, Jay, I love your sports analogy, right? The broadcasters that do that stuff. Do you know when people really love sportscasters is when they're bloopers, right? When they foible, when they mess up, when they drop the ball, when they trip. I mean, people get endeared. It's actually called the pratfall effect. Jessica, one of our marketing people, and I just did a podcast and we talked about it yesterday. But that's a really, really important thing. You have to be you. And it's so easy to do this. It's so easy to send your clients a quick video because that's what people are consuming ad nauseum today.
Yeah. Thank you for the comment, Mariah. Matt, let's talk about your new book. I guess it's not that new now. How long ago did it come out?
November.
All right, so new enough. Shut the F up and listen. Let's start with this because writing books really difficult to do. What prompted the book?
Yeah. What prompted the book was I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and it just happened. It just happened. Like I literally grabbed my laptop and started writing. And it's so the book is formatted a very, very specific manner, and this is done by intention. So I talk about 7 different types of listening. I basically took active listening and blew it up into these 7 different types. So it's the type of listening, a story illustrating the type of listening that are very, very personal stories about me in my life and my career, and all of the different sorts of jobs and stuff I've had to get me to where I am today. And then the third part of each chapter is an exercise for you to practice. This is what drives me crazy. There's all sorts of books out there on listening, but nobody is like, hey, go do this and practice this. And so I really wanted to have that in the book. The other reason why I wanted to write this is kind of corny, but I wanted my kids to read it. So, because my kids are 22 years old and I have twins, and I would be sitting around, we'd be having a family meal or, I'd be driving somewhere with one of my kids. We have a lot of windshield time together. And I tell them something like, Dad, I didn't know that about you. And so I wanted to really just document these stories. And both of my kids were actually, my wife and my 2 kids were the first people to read the book outside of my editor. And my wife knew all of the stories, of course, because, she's my person. But both of my kids were like, Dad, I had no idea. And so, that might sound selfish. And I'm okay with that. The other thing is most people are terrible at listening because they have 2 ears and they hear all the time, but most people don't know how to listen. And the other thing that's frustrating, Jay, is most people who are learning how to do active listening, that has nothing to do with the person talking. That has all to do with you showing them you're listening, which I think is the wrong intention. And so I'm not a fan of active listening. And so I really just wanted to deconstruct all of that.
So Matt, when my friends write books, I read them. I know how hard they do. I dog tag this thing because there's a lot of really good ideas in there. But you also talk about some really personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you wrote this book for your kids. Actually, the first book I wrote about 10 years ago is a book on managing through very stressful times, particularly when struggling with depression or anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, not a lot of people spoke about that. And in the back of my mind, it was, well, hey, when my then young kids get older, this could be a resource for them as well. Matt, you have a section in the book on your journey with depression and anxiety. Do you mind sharing your journey with us?
Yeah. So, I was diagnosed with, so everybody says they have ADHD. Very few people actually do, because if they did, they would know, really. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 7. I have medication resistant ADHD. So the stimulants don't work for me. In fact, they make me feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack all the time. I've tried pretty much every medicine that's out there. And so mental health was really something that I struggled with. I have a master's degree. I did not do well in high school because I just couldn't sit still. I actually have the hyperactivity component of ADHD. And then I had to figure out how to use it as my superpower. And when I started figuring out how to use it as my superpower, then I got hit with the 1-2 depression and anxiety punch. And man, that really sucked. So one of the big things about depression that I think a lot of people need to pay attention to is, one, you're not depressed all the time, and there are triggers. It's both for depression and anxiety. And so I went on a very, very long journey internally, because I firmly believe that knowing yourself is the greatest journey a person can take, to really try to figure out what my triggers are. And Jay, one of the triggers is money, just so you know. If you want to see me spike with my depression or anxiety, money is a huge, huge trigger. And I have a financial advisor and all of that sort of stuff, and we're doing just fine. But it's just amazing to me how quickly, after I found these triggers and I did the work, that it's really important. But here's the other thing I think is the reason why I wanted to talk about it in the book, and the reason why I'm very open to talk about it now, is it's not a sign of weakness. I don't feel that I'm emasculated at all talking about things that I'm working on. I actually think it makes me a stronger human being. I also think it makes me a better husband, makes me a better father, makes me a better business partner, makes me a better friend, because I'm not hiding this. If I'm really, really down, I tell people, look, I can't come out and play today because you know what, I'm depressed. Right. And that's not sad. One of the things too that I think a lot of people don't truly understand is they'll use these words very colloquially instead of really what the diagnosis means. Depression for me manifests in physical pain. My joints hurt all the time when I'm in a depressed cycle. I feel like I'm walking through cement. I'm on the verge of feeling like I'm going to cry all the time. And that's different than being sad, right? Anxiety is the same sort of thing. So when I'm anxious, I notice it very quickly. My speech increases super, super fast. I can feel my heart rate increase. My breathing increases substantially. I can't really think because my brain is just firing. My type of anxiety is firing so quickly that it's very, very frustrating. Learning your triggers, accepting the fact that you might have to be on medication for the rest of your life is another thing that I think is a very empowering thing. You know, Jay, many moons ago, I started taking a gastric reflux medicine because I destroyed my stomach drinking Mountain Dew all day, every day, right? Which is really wildly acidic, right? But nobody gets weird that I have to take, a GERD pill every day. But if I tell them I'm on Wellbutrin, they're like, "Well, can't you control that?" No, I have a chemical imbalance in my freaking brain, dude. I have a chemical imbalance in my gut. And so I don't understand why people view those things differently. It's not weakness. It's actually strength when you stand up and you really realize who you are and what help you need.
Well, thanks for sharing, not just here in the book. If you're struggling with depression, anxiety, please seek professional help. If you want to learn how I work through it myself, you can download a free copy of The Resilient Advisor by going to resilientadvisor.com. The book is actually about research I did on ways to help manage stress and find ways to work through it. Matt, I've always had respect for you, but the fact that you're willing to openly talk about it, you and I both know that it's going to help some folks.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to the book. And inside of Shut the F Up and Listen, Great title, by the way. Very, very, very provocative. Yeah. You lay out the 5 types of communicators. I think it'd be helpful as we kind of wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
Let's walk through the 5 types of communicators and the implications for advisors.
Fantastic. So I wanted to create a very, very quick hack so that you could figure out how deep you can go with people very, very fast. And in the way that you do this is you're asking the question, how are you doing? All right. You can say it in a lot of different ways, but the idea is it's how are you doing? And how they answer that question is going to really tell you what type of communicator there are. Now, this isn't as it's a little bit more complex. I'm going to give you kind of the Cliff Notes sort of answer here. So the first one are skydivers. And so these are people where you say, hey, Jay, how are you doing? And they say, fine. They yank their parachute, boom, they're out of there, right? They have no desire to engage in any sort of depth of conversation. The second one are hang gliders. Now, these are some people I absolutely love because a hang glider, what they're going to do is they're going to, if they want to, they're going to say, oh, I'm doing okay. And then they fly away. And if they felt that you were genuine and had intention, they come back and they'll be like, you know what? You really seem to want to know how I'm doing. And I'd like to talk to you about it. And then what happens is you guys are now flying together. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But most people are water skiers. Most people, and I live in Michigan. We have lakes everywhere. If you don't know how to water ski in Michigan, I don't know what you did in your childhood. Everybody got yanked behind a boat on a tube or on skis at some point, right? And water skiers are those people who are just kind of holding on for dear life, right? You know, they've got the protective gear, they got the flotation device, they've got the skis, they got the tube, the kneeboard, whatever they're using. But when you say, how are you doing? What they're afraid of is they're afraid to let go and be honest. Because, Jay, if you ever water skied, you know that when you let go of that rope, dude, that water hurts for a split second. And then you're floating and you're like, all right, the boat's coming back around, right? But it's scary to let go of that rope. I find that a lot of people, when they let go of the rope, if they have somebody who's with them intentionally with engaged listening, they're not going to do this. They're not going to hit the water hard. They're going to do what a lot of us do when I'm tired. I just let go of the rope and I just coast into the water, right? But you're going to have a lot of people who don't want to have that conversation. It's not because they're going to just parachute away. It's because they just don't feel comfortable letting go of that rope. What all advisors need to get to are the snorkelers. And this is so powerful. There's all sorts of ways to deconstruct snorkelers, but I'll do it very quickly. A snorkeler is a person who wants to saddle up next to you and you're looking at all the pretty stuff that's below you, right? And you've got the gear, you got the goggles, you got the fins, you've got the snorkel. And the goal is for you to dive together so that you're having this beautiful shared experience, right? Jay, so how long can somebody generally hold their breath who has a little bit of practice? Do you know?
A minute?
Okay, a minute? Sure. Professional people can do it up to 4 to 7 minutes, right? But some people, a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Okay. Here's the thing. This is how conversation is supposed to go. Now, I am an experienced snorkeler, so I usually talk in 3-minute sections. All right. This is what you want to do with everybody. You talk for 3 minutes, they talk for 3 minutes, right? Snorkelers are people who want to engage in fruitful, reciprocal communication. Okay. But they're also not afraid to dive a little bit deeper, right? They're okay talking about feelings and emotions and goals and life and their money, right? Maybe wills and trusts and family dynamics, but they're not going to go super, super deep, but you're going to get enough information that you can do your job. Now, the last one are the deep sea divers, the scuba divers. These are people who are totally geared up and you ask them the question, how are you doing? And they tell you, right? They're going to tell you everything about anything that and they can stay under forever, right? So this sort of way to judge that sort of stuff, the only one that you can really manage, there's 2 that you can manage really well. One is the water skiers. You want to make people feel comfortable with your intentional question and listening, which I talk a lot about intention in the book, so that when they let go and they're willing to sit and float with you in the water for a few minutes, that you've made them feel comfortable. But the other one really is this idea of snorkeling. You should be snorkeling in your interviews. You should be snorkeling with your clients, because what a lot of you are doing is you're talking for 10 or 15 minutes straight at the person. That's not snorkeling. that's just being a crappy presenter.
Right. Excellent framework. Where can advisors and anybody get a copy of the book?
Yeah. So if you just go to Amazon and type in "Shut the F Up and Listen" book, you want to do that because some other things are very interesting that come up. We really didn't look at some of the other books that were out there. You're probably going to get the Go to F to Sleep, and there's a couple other ones because of, I'm using the word F instead of the full one, but it'll come up very, very quickly because that's the search, and it's not expensive. I have a hardcover, I've got the paperback, I've got a Kindle version, and I actually did the audiobook, Jay. My wife read part of the introduction. My editor, Derek Pollard, read the preface, and then I did the rest. And in fact, there's more in the audiobook than there is in the book itself. So thanks for letting me say that.
Absolutely. You guys have something new rolling out over at ProudMouth. You want to share with the audience what you guys have coming?
I'm excited about this. Yeah, dude. So I get all props to my business partner, Kirk Lowe. He is the chocolate to my peanut butter. And we came up with this idea many, many moons ago. We've had a couple of beta editions of the Pod Rocket Influence Academy that's out, but now it is so done. This thing is fully baked. We've gamified your marketing. You're going to take the influence readiness test at the beginning, and that's going to tell you where your gaps are. And then the cool thing is that we will give you the courses that you need or podcasts to listen to help you close those gaps. Our ultimate goal is to help you be able to do a lot of the stuff that we do for our clients yourself, but more importantly, help you stop being the best kept secret in your area. The other thing that's really, really wonderful about this is your team can be in there too. And in fact, that's what a lot of people are doing now is the primary advisor's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to spend, there's 35 courses in there. I'm not going to spend all the time doing that. But hey, I've got a team member who likes to do marketing. They send her into the academy. And then once you're in the academy, it's amazing. The courses are super easy to navigate. But more importantly, we're going to provide you with this warm blanket of support. 8 hours a month, you're going to be able to log into we call them Ask an Expert, which is an opportunity for you to go ahead and talk to me and our team about anything that's in the academy. Jessica, who a lot of you have seen on our webinars, she's very visible here at ProudMouth now. She's been with us for 7.5 years. She runs the Ask an Expert, our office hours. And I'm telling you, there are no questions. I shouldn't say that. There are questions she probably couldn't answer, but she is absolutely fantastic. But if you really look at the price, it's $99 a month. If you look at the price, I personally charge $250 an hour as a consultant. That was my going rate before. You're going to get 8 hours of that, access to that every single solitary month. Nobody's got anything that's as complete as this. We talk about marketing, branding. We talk about podcasting. We talk about video. Katie's got a video thing in there. We talk about advisory boards. We talk some practice management stuff, referrals. Bill Cates has a course in there, all the way up to how to specifically market to women, how to find your own niche. All of those things are in the academy. Yeah, dude, I'm so excited about this. I was talking to Kirk a couple of days ago, and we were just talking about where we were as ProudMouth. We've been going through some growing pains. And I said, I'm more excited about where we are at ProudMouth today, as excited as I was when we rebranded to ProudMouth and we really became the company that all of you know today. This is such an unbelievable time. And we want to be able to hold your hand. We want to be able to help you really start market in a compliant manner. And that's why we built the academy. Thanks, Derek, for the comment. A lot of people are really digging the Ask an Expert times. Derek does this, by the way. There are a lot of us out there who do these sorts of open-ended questions, whether that's like a LinkedIn Live or, in our situation in the academy. But we know that you need more support and we want to give it to you.
Excellent. Matt, for my first live broadcast in 2 years, I couldn't ask anybody better to come on. Thanks for making it easy, my friend. I appreciate you sharing. Everybody, please grab a copy of Shut the F Up and Listen. And Matt, I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
Thanks, brother. It's great being here.